Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Universe vs DC Universe battle report of the two gaming systems that are the same mixed together by Knight Models. Go back and watch Battle Report 1 if you want a full overview of how the games are compatible with each other. But the only rule again is that the franchises are against each other. We ignore the affiliation rules for each individual team. Case in point, we've got Brotherhood of Mutants mixed with X-Men for one side and a mixture of heroes and villains on the other. But let's go into detail as we look over the teams and get started. But first of all, thank you for the support on these, because they are a little odd. Greatly appreciated, and remember to subscribe if you want to see more in the future. So for the DC side, we've got three of the Legion of Doom in the form of Cheetah, Gorilla Grodd, and the New 52 Joker. And then we also have way too many of my dog's hairs on the table here. Gonna need to get rid of those in a second. But we also have the Flash, and we have Flashpoint Batman, just for a weird mixture. I think that's like 49 power in total for this side. Let's go take a look at the Marvel side. And it's very much a To Me My X-Men theme for the Marvel side this time. 6 miniatures playing 5. So Sabretooth is here, but other than that we also have the neutral Emma Frost, and then we have the X-Men, we have Cyclops, we have Wolverine at the back there, we have Gambit, and we have Jean Grey. So we'll get everything set up, see who's going first. Doing the same mission as always, the 3 places of power to take and hold, but we'll cover that more in a second. So with everything set up, it will be DC going first. They also got to pick their side for deployment, so that is here. So we have the Flash, Cheetah, Grodd, and then Flashpoint, Batman, and Joker next to each other there. We've got the 3 places of power, so one there, one right in the middle underneath the metro station, and one over there. And then over here we have the X-Men, Gambit, Emma Frost, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, and over by his lonesome is Sabretooth over there. 1 victory point for making someone a casualty, taking them out of the game. 1 point for each place of power held at the end of the turn, and 1 additional victory point if majority is claimed. So with that, let's move into battle round 1. So Cheetah got things started for Team DC, and they've got a lot of ground to make back up on Marvel in this series so far. She didn't do much with her turn, however. She's obviously close combat orientated, so she spent 2 to move 9, which is pretty fast, which got her right up to the scenery there, and wanting the cover from the building. They're banking a lot of power for defense as well. Not wishing to associate with the X-Men for too long, Sabretooth activated. He spent 2 to move his full allocation of movement. Then he spent another 2 power to do his once per turn advanced pounce, which gives him 6 inches of free movement, which put him in claiming range of that place of power there, still banking 3 power for defense as well. So the Flash activated next, spent 2 power to move 15 because he is quick. Went right into base to base with Sabretooth, then he spent a total of 6 power, 5+1 to overload his once per game Supermass Critical Punch. Sabretooth buffed his physical defense, but he didn't need to, as it turns out, because he even overloaded on 3d8s. Well, you can see the roll right there. That was pathetic. So the once per game has been wasted, no damage done to Sabretooth. He is banking 1 power, so 2 tired doesn't kick in, assuming he doesn't spend it to defend himself. But yeah, that was bad. He is contesting the place of power now though. Scott Summers, otherwise known as Cyclops, activated next, and he did his once per game for 1 power To Me My X-Men. So all X-Men within 8 inches of him get +1 to speed, which is +1 to their movement values, both the high end and low end. Like basically, whatever their 1 power movement is, +1, whatever their 2 power movement is, +1 to that as well. So that's everybody around him. So they've all got that when they activate. He then moved forward 7 for his 2. Actually, he would technically get an extra inch, wouldn't he? Because it would affect him as well, presumably. It doesn't specify that it doesn't. So I guess he'll move 1 more inch forwards. But yeah, he has massive range on his eye lasers, 16 inches, but that's not quite enough to hit Joker or Flashpoint Batman. So he's banking 4 power. So Flashpoint Batman was the next up. He did his once per turn, because this Batman has a once per turn backclaw. Used that for 12 inches, which got him right on the place of power. He then did 2 overloaded dual handgun attacks, which he can do as many times as he wants, on poor Cyclops, one of which crit, because normally it just does 2 damage. So 2 and 3, 5 damage. He's 1 away from his pale zone. Emma Frost activated and moved up with the bonus 1 inch of movement she was given from To Me My X-Men. From where she was there, she tried an Astral Bolt to lower Batman's willpower, because all Batmen have very good mental defense and willpower stats. Didn't work, so she then did an overloaded Psi Bolt, which again, Batman has very strong mental defense, so it did not get through. So she did nothing and banked 1 power. The Joker was next up, and he doesn't have a lot of movement, but he spent 2 to do his full allocation, and then he was just in range to do his once per game one-shot gun on Emma Frost, which he overloaded as well. She buffed her physical defense with the 1 power she was sitting on. It was not enough, so it did 3 damage, which isn't very much for a once per game, but had it have critted, it would have done +3 extra damage rather than +1, so it's a potential 6 on the table. But either way, 3 damage to Emma. She's still standing. Back over to the X-Men. So Gambit was up next, and he only has 6 power, which really shows the difference between the Marvel Universe rules and the DC Universe rules, where like 6 power, you do not see that. 7, well, even in the DC Universe, probably not. I think 8 is the minimum. Either way, he did activate. He moved forwards with his bonus 1 inch. Then he did 52 pickup, which is just him throwing one of his explosive cards at Flashpoint Batman. It hit him, and it did 2 damage. He banked 1 power after that. Gorilla Grodd was the last one to activate for the DC side, meaning there's still 2 minis for the Marvel side. He is very slow. He has to spend 2 power to move 6, but he has Agile, so he's allowed to make 2 moves per turn. So he spent 2, moved 6, spent 2, moved 6, to where you can see him, if my shadow gets out of the way, banking a massive 5 power for defense. So yeah, it's over to Marvel to get 2 free turns with Jean Grey and Wolverine. So we're just going to cover the last 2 activations for the Marvel side here. Wolverine moved up twice. He's agile, so he gets 2 moves. He pivoted, he moved up here, and then he pivoted under there so that he could claim the middle place of power. He banked 3, but he's close range, so there's nothing else he could do. Jean Grey can fly, and she moved 10, although 11 because of the buff. So she is now there. She fired her once per game, I think it's called Psionic Blast or Psionic Bolt, at Gorilla Grodd. The shadow here is terrible, that's why this table's getting cleared after this one, to not have a bunch of scenery in the middle. It got through, but it only does 2 damage for once per game. It only does 2 damage. So with that, takes us to the end phase for Battle Round 1. So at the end of the first battle round, 2 places of power are claimed, 1 by each side. DC holds this one, Wolverine for Marvel is holding the middle one, and then the left one here is contested between Flash and Sabretooth, so that's 1 victory point each, no victory points for majority, and none for anyone being incapacitated. It will be Marvel going first as we go into Battle Round 2. Cyclops was the first to activate for Battle Round 2. He stayed still, he did his once per game Optical Devastation or something it's called. It's his biggest Death Beam Blast for 5 power, or 5 overloaded I think. He did it on Flashpoint Batman, who buffed his energy defense, and it whiffed. So then he just did his bog standard little beam that he can spam as many times as he wants per turn as long as he has the power, and of course that got through. So it did 2 damage. If the big blast had gotten through, it would have done 5, but that is now gone. And he didn't move, and he's staying where he is with all his power used up. Over to DC. Gorilla Grodd activated, and he also opted to just stand still. First of all, he spent 3 for his mind control, so someone within range it's within range 4, they don't get to, they must use one of their once per turn or as many as they want actions. They don't pay the power. He can spend additional power to overload it. He made Jean Grey do a Psionic Blast against Wolverine, but failed the roll. So then he did his once per game Psionic Roar, which is a wave attack in front of him, and Jean failed her agility roll and took full damage, which is 3. Wolverine, who I can't get a good angle at all, he passed, so he took half rounding down, so he took 1 damage. And that's it for Gorilla Grodd. He is banking 1 power. Gambit was up next, and he stayed still too. He did all his power, 6 power, for 2 overloaded 52 pickups on Flashpoint Batman, which both got through, one of which critted for 5 damage. So Batman's now in his pale zone, so he'll be doing a knockout check at the end of the turn unless he gets more injured as the turn goes on. Back over to DC. So clearly Flashpoint Batman was not going to stand for this, so he started blasting with his pistols. He did 2 overloaded charged pistols attacks, or handgun attacks, and left him with 1 power, but more importantly, he opted not to just hit Cyclops even though he was the lowest health, because he wanted to hit Emma Frost and did, for 2 damage. But more importantly, his passive vital points kick in, so if she wants to spend any power at all on anything, the power cost of everything she has is +1 until the end of a turn, so she's not going to be able to do as much. Cyclops also failed his roll and took 2 damage. He is dangerously low on health. He's not in his blue zone yet, he is in his pale zone, but only by 1 HP. A real quick turn for Sabretooth next, because he stayed where he was and did his once per game devastating claws, overloaded it on the Flash, who did buff his physical defense to try and avoid it. Did not, so he took 4 damage, which is pretty nasty, and also distract 2, so his physical defense is now 2 lower for the rest of the round if someone else does take a swing at him. But he didn't have anything left to do other than that, and he's still contesting the point, so he banked 2 power. So this is going to be annoying to get a camera angle of, but Cheetah activated next. She moved 9 inches to get into base to base with Wolverine, then she did a Fang attack overloaded followed by a Claw attack. All said and done, 4 damage and 2 damage, so pretty nasty to him there. No power left for defense, but Wolverine is hurting. So Wolverine activated next, but just going to clear something up just in case you're familiar with how Wolverine's rolls work. He does have a roll called Adamantian Skeleton, which means he can take no more than 3 damage from a single attack, but Cheetah did 2 attacks to add up to that 5 damage, just in case you weren't following along. So anyway, he did his once per game the best there is to try and smack her as hard as he can with his claws, then he did a sneaked attack afterwards, both of which could not get through Cheetah's base to physical defense of 18. She is really tanky. Forgot to mention on her activation as well, but all her attacks count as Mystic, so the defense you can't buff yourself against, so she's actually surprisingly good. The Flash was next up, and he did an overloaded charge into Sabretooth, which worked, and it also did push 3, so he's been knocked away from the objective, which is massively important. Only did 3 damage, then tried to do his once per game bolts attack, which is when he fires like lightning speed bolts, but that did not get through the buffed energy defense of Sabretooth, so that is gone. But he has cleared the objective and kind of forced Jean Grey's hand, I think, but let's see what happens. So Jean Grey activated and she decided to help secure the middle objective because the end result is essentially the same regardless. She then tried to do 2 psionic attacks on Cheetah and both of them whiffed. She spent all her power and did no damage. Also, I hate that most of the action is happening in the middle because that's very hard to cover. So now it's over to Joker to end the turn for DC and then back over to Emma Frost for Marvel. So Joker has moved up to get in range to do his other once per game, which is Acid Flower. So he overloaded that and spent it to spray acid on Emma Frost, who did not try and avoid it. So it did 3 damage, taking her into her pale zone, and he banked 1 power. So now it is over to Emma to see how she can retaliate, but all her powers cost +1 thanks to Flashpoint Batman hurting her earlier. So there's not going to be much she can do. So from where she was standing, Emma Frost fired a Psybolt at Flashpoint Batman because he is the most wounded of the 2 nearby, and it didn't get through his defenses. So then she just did a 2 power move. Well, 3 power, so actually that technically should not be there, so never mind. Just to get in, but obviously there's 2 versus 1, so she can't contest and stop it being scored. And with that, it takes us to the cleanup and point scoring phase of Battle Round 2. So at the end of Battle Round 2, Cyclops has given into his wounds and fallen unconscious, so he might not get an activation. We'll see in the next turn. As far as victory points, oh actually no, sorry, first of all, just to quickly cover, the Flash, Wolverine and Sabretooth all have regeneration 1, so they've all healed 1 HP. In terms of victory points though, DC hold this one, Marvel hold this one, and thanks to shoving Sabretooth away, DC hold that one. So that's 2 and 1, but that also means DC has the majority for a bonus victory point. So now, into Battle Round 3, Marvel won the roll-off again to get first activation. Not the best of starts to Battle Round 3 for Marvel. Gambit activated and did the exact same turn again, hoping for as equally good a result as last time. Stayed still to overloaded 52 pickup on Flashpoint Batman, who did buff his physical defense. Neither got through, so he wasted his turn. So to retaliate, Flashpoint Batman activated. I love that Thomas Wayne is just standing there like a 70-year-old man, just weathering the storm of 3 X-Men and just shooting at them. So he did the exact same turn he did last time, except he had more success than Gambit. He did 2 overloaded pistol shots, put 1 slug or bullet, whatever, into Emma Frost for 2 damage and also increasing her power cost, and then picked on Scott Summers and did 2 damage to him, so his power costs are increased by 1 as well. But presumably that doesn't affect the cost to stand up if he gets a turn, but he is very close to death. Oh, that did also put Emma in her blue zone. She passed the test to stay conscious, but she's almost dead as well, so Joker could go for some kills here. Emma Frost activated and she did her once per game diamond form, which is +3 to all defenses for the turn and also +2 strength, so she gets like inhuman strength. But after that, because of the increased power cost, she could only do a Psybolt, and she did it on Thomas Wayne because again he's the most wounded one here. but his mental resistance base is 18, so it's very hard to get through, so she didn't do anything. She is protecting herself with Diamond Form though. It's going to be very hard to get through her defences to go for the kill, but that does make Cyclops the more tasty target. Although I guess for Joker to go after him he'd have to leave the point, so we'll see. Back over to Marvel. Back over to DC. So Gorilla Grodd activated next and he decided to join the mess in the middle that's very hard to film. So he moved up into the melee, you can see there, then he did Mind Control or Dominate Mind to make, who was it? It was Jean Grey to attack Wolverine. It missed, so it doesn't matter. Then he just did a Mind Blast on Wolverine because his mental defense is pretty low. It hit him. I don't know if you can see the damage dice behind him. It just did 2 damage, but more importantly it did stun 2, so he also lost 2 of his power, so he's only got 5 left, which means he's not going to be able to do much on his turn. So Jean Grey activated, she did a Psionic Blast and Psychic Illusions overloaded on Gorilla Grodd, who obviously has high mental defense, sadly, because that's his whole shtick as well. That said, she didn't get hit, or one didn't get through to do a hit, sorry, but the other one did and critted, so instead of doing the base 2 damage, it actually did 3 to him, so he has been damaged, she has no power left over, and she's still claiming, or contesting, the middle point. So Joker decided to look out his butterfly knife. He spent 1 to move a small distance right into, well, he's meant to be base to base, but you know, base to base with Emma Frost, and then he did 2 overloaded knife attacks on her, one of which got through and critted for 2 damage. Emma's on, I think is it 3 left? She's got 2 HP left, so 3 would kill her, but he wasn't able to secure the kill for points. Who has Marvel got left now? Sabretooth, Wolverine with limited power, and that's it. Sorry, that is not it. Of course, Cyclops could still get a turn. He might not, but he could still get a turn. So again, apologies for the lighting. Wolverine activated and he did 2 Schnicked attacks, or however you say that. I don't know how to say it. Either way, one of which was overloaded, one of which was not. It critted, I believe, for 3 damage, which you probably can't even see. It's over there. 3 damage to Cheetah. She's not hurting though, that's her first damage, so she's not worried. So now it's over to Cheetah or Flash for DC. And Marvel has Sabretooth or Cyclops. So Cheetah did activate and she stayed where she was. She did an overloaded Fang attack and then she did 2 claw attacks, one of which was overloaded. She just went absolutely nuts on Wolverine. Did a total of 7 damage. I believe there was 1 crit in there, I can't quite remember now. But either way, Wolverine, once I can get... careful. Wolverine is gone, and that is 1 victory point to DC for that. So now it's over to Sabretooth or Cyclops. So Cyclops did try to activate and failed, so he's not getting a turn. It went over to DC and Flash, so he can move twice, remember, so he moved for 1 next to Sabretooth, did a charge overloaded on him to shove him back 3 inches and do 2 damage, and then spent 1 again to move right back to claiming the objective. So it's over to Sabretooth to end battle round 3. So for Sabretooth's turn, he had to clear the distance to get back into base to base, both to contest and also attack. He did an overloaded Feral Attack, or what was it called? Not Feral Attack. No, it is called Feral Attack, my bad. Feral Attack did the damage. It did only 2, but better than nothing. Flash is 1 away from his Pale Zone, and that does take us to the end of Battle Round 3, with things not looking so great for Marvel. So a lot to cover in the cleanup for Battle Round 3. Sabretooth regenerated 1 health, the Flash regenerated 1 health as well. Now knockouts, Flashpoint Batman has given into his wounds and been knocked out. So has Emma Frost, though. So score-wise, Joker scored this one, Gorilla Grodd and Cheetah scored the middle, so that's 2 plus 1 for majority, and this one over here is contested. Now Wolverine also went down for a victory point as well. At this point it seems like there's no chance for Marvel to catch up because it's 8 playing 2. However, we are going to play Battle Round 4 just in case Marvel can get some kind of miraculous turnaround. It is going to be DC going first though, as we go into Battle Round 4. So to get Battle Round 4 started, Joker activated. He did 2 overloaded knife attacks on the downed Emma Frost because her defense would be super low. Overloaded them to try for the crits, or to make the crits easier to get the doubles, and he did. So 1 did 1 damage and 1 did 2, and that is exactly enough damage to remove Emma Frost from the game for 1 bonus victory point. Gambit activated, he hopped the wall to where you can see him, then he did his once per game all in, which is a fan blast of him unleashing in the entire deck of cards at once on both Flashpoint Batman and Joker. They just had to do agility rolls, they failed. Both took 2 damage. That does put Flashpoint Batman in his blue zone. He's very close to death, which, I mean, it doesn't matter technically because he's already knocked out. It does matter if he gets conscious and has a turn, however, because his stats are going to be diminished, but 2 damage to each of them, and obviously he is now also contesting that place of power. Cheetah activated and tried to do what she did to Wolverine to Jean Grey, and walked into her, then did an overloaded flying attack and then 2 bog standard claw attacks. Didn't have as much luck, but did manage to do 5 damage to her, which does put her very close to her red zone / blue zone, but not quite, so she doesn't have to do a knockout check immediately. She is, however, getting dangerously low on health. So Jean Grey tried to do everything she could. She flew over to contest this one, or actually, sorry, to claim this one, because Batman is unconscious currently. Then she tried a Sonic Blast on him while he was downed. Even with the -2 debuff, he did not take any damage. Even in sleep, his mental defense is very high. So that could be it right there. Jean needed to take him out, I think. If she goes down to Grodd, that would definitely do it, I think, points-wise. But let's see. So for Grodd's turn, he moved twice to get right in there to both be contesting / claiming this place of power. And so that he was close to Jean, he struck her, did 2 damage. Wasn't enough to kill her, but put her in her red zone / blue zone. She failed her stamina check and has fallen unconscious. So at this point it does seem like the Marvel victory is unattainable. They're getting picked off. There's not enough wounds on the DC people. Well, Flashpoint Batman's like 5 away from death, but he's done more than enough. So I think we're just going to call it there with a Marvel concede. Back in a second to make sure. So just see if it was worth playing out, checked to see whether or not Cyclops or Flashpoint Batman would wake up so that they could get their turns, because Cyclops could technically move in the middle to at least contest it to deny a point, which was something, but he isn't getting a turn, didn't wake up, neither did Flashpoint Batman. But because of Gorilla Grodd coming over here, Joker's still conscious, and with Jean knocked out, they have majority, so they score that. Cheetah scores the middle one, and then over here is obviously still contested, although Flash could potentially charge Sabretooth again just to knock him back. So there's really no way for them to catch up, even if this went the length. If this went the length, they would get tabled. The X-Men, as it turns out, not nearly as effective as some of the other Marvel miniatures we've seen on the table. They don't have enough power for everything they can do. They have to choose between like blasting or moving and doing weak attacks. I'm surprised at how low damage some of their attacks, their once per games are. In terms of final score though, that is 11, if we count this turn is ending right here. 11 to DC and 2 to Marvel. So the X-Men got shown up today. The Brotherhood of Mutants further down the line might do better with, you know, Magneto at the helm. We shall see. These are ever so often, you know, just for fun. Now it's a good excuse to strip this table so that there's not this in the middle to obscure everything. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the early finish, but again, there's no reason to play on because they are going to get obliterated. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to subscribe if you want to see more in the future. And until next time, ta-ta for now.